the time of pandemic, जब बहुत से बिजनेसेस बंद होने के कगार पे आ गए, काफी लोग अपनी नौकरी से हाथ धो बैठे और लाखों लोग गरीबी और भुखमरी से जूझ रहे हैं। हमारे हॉर्सेस आए हैं एक उम्मीद की किरण बनकर उन सब के लिए जो सब कुछ हारने के बाद भी हिम्मत नहीं हारे हैं और जज्बा रखते हैं एक बार फिर उठकर आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनकर नए सिरे से शुरुआत करने की। Our horses will help them to get huge funding so that वो अपने अमेजिंग आइडिया से अपने बिजनेस और भारत की इकोनॉमी को दोबारा खड़ा कर सकें। We are welcoming you to witness the unforgettable journey of Horses Stable.
Shivani Gupta representing Inochi Care Private Limited. Inochi is a Japanese word which means life, and we work towards making lives healthier. We are a medical technology startup based out of India. Our journey started as a part of School of International Biodesign, a collaborative initiative between India, Australia and Japan to solve the unmet clinical needs of the world. As a part of clinical immersion during our fellowship, we saw something in the field which shook us inside. All of us know someone who has been a diabetic. We have known someone who has undergone one or other kind of surgery or has been in the hospital for more than 8 days. All of these people are prone to get one of these kinds of wounds. And today, when we are talking in this room, 110 million people globally suffer from one of these wounds. And results of delayed healing are one amputation occurring every 30 seconds. One of the top 10 global causes of physical disability. Not a problem only for the patients or their family or their caregivers, it's a problem for healthcare system as well. It poses a financial burden of $50 billion on the healthcare system, and it causes 50 millions of work hours lost per year. But 80% of these adverse consequences can be prevented with the right intervention at the right time. We at Inochi Care have developed a patented multi-therapeutic wound healing technology, WECOX. The technology comprises of two parts. One is a customized designed dressing part and the device. So how it works, the patch, the dressing is applied over to the wound wherever on the skin and is connected to the device. The device has the capability to provide different therapies required to maintain the optimum wound healing environment onto the wound surface. The device is easy to use, smaller in size, battery backed up with an integrated contamination check system so that there is no cross contamination. We got this approval from CDSCO and FDA equivalents in India and started our first in human studies. This wound, which otherwise would have taken months or maybe a year to heal, was healed within 3 weeks by this therapeutic intervention. It saves up to 33% of nursing time. As well, it cuts down the biomedical waste generation by 75%. Comparing to the other advanced wound care solution available, or the passive care in case of there is no advanced wound care solution available in the healthcare facility, we are the only one with a multi-therapeutic effect affecting the all stages of wound healing process. It takes care of infection and hypoxia. It is a resource efficient device which can be placed in any kind of healthcare setting, and It overall provides 3 times faster healing at 1/3 the cost of care. Our first target market is India, then going to the neighboring Asian countries like Japan, having a stronger clinical and regulatory collaboration there, going to other Asian countries and followed by rest of the world. Our major customer segments are hospitals with trauma ICUs, orthopedics and wound care facilities, diabetic foot clinics, defense hospitals and ambulatory settings. And the revenue stream consists of 2 parts. One is the sales of the device, which can be a one-time purchase or a rental model, and the recurrent source of revenue is the disposable patch or the dressing, which is disposed of once the one wound is treated while the device remains the same. So the dressing consumable becomes a recurrent source of revenue. Till now, we have raised $500,000 US and we have completed our prototyping, proof of concept, safety and bench testing, and we have filed patent across the world including India, US, Europe, Australia, China and Japan. So going forward to the market penetration and launching our product, we are looking to raise $1.3 million US, which will be used for getting our commercialization license, launching our product in India, expanding our trials to international geographies and getting the regulatory approvals across the different geographies in the world. So our team comprises of myself, Shivani Gupta. I am a trained biotechnologist with PhD degree in biotechnology. My co-founder, Mr. Sutit Tripathi, who is a mechatronics engineer, and we both were the biodesign fellows as well. And a Professor Sushma Sagar, who is a wound care expert and a leading wound care surgeon in India with 25 years of experience. We at Inochi Care are committed to heal the non-healing wounds and prevent any kind of associated challenges or physical disabilities, as well as serving the global market of non-healing wounds. Thank you.
Shivani, firstly, let me congratulate you and tell you that as the first pitch of the morning, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
It was very well done, very well explained, and you took us through all the important criteria. So thank you for that. I have only one question with regards to the application of the technology. Does this technology require expertise in terms of using it? So my question is that, for example, your launch market is India. Healthcare is a major issue and 70% of India still lives in the villages. So is it only for professionals who know how to operate this technology? And if not, how much time does it take to educate somebody in becoming an operator for this technology, for the healing device?
This doesn't require any special kind of education. So while developing our product, we had done multiple user studies and putting in the design thinking approach together. We have worked together with lots of nursing staff from the primary to the tertiary healthcare system. And it is almost like doing any other kind of a dressing which any kind of paramedic or nursing staff is capable of. It is just placing the patch there and checking it around, then one tubing coming out and connecting to the device. Just that much of a procedure. But just to make sure that everyone learns it and applies it well, it is just 5 to 7 minutes of demo which we give to them just one first time when they are using this. But it doesn't interrupt their workflow, or they need not to learn something new to apply this device.
So you have to be somebody who's either a qualified paramedic or a nursing staff with some experience in nursing to be able to use this technology, or can it be an entrepreneurial thought process for a caregiver who does maybe a 3-day digital course and can use this to go to people's homes for those who can't travel to hospitals or senior citizens and give this care? Is there a possibility of that, or is there some sort of restriction on that?
So there is no such kind of restriction. For example, there are long-term care facilities or the nursing homes, and there are already such kind of services available in India as well as in the globe, where they send people home to apply these kind of technologies in the nursing homes or somewhere. They can be trained within 1 day to tell if someone has no medical background at all, just 1 day to see, okay, apply the dressing, connect it to the device and see if the patient is fine, just that much.
Lovely, thank you. You answered my questions very well. Thank you.
My question is just to follow on the idea is that this could be is there a certain technicality that requires to be applied? So if this is so easy to be used, can it be used by a consumer so he doesn't need to know what this wound is all about, or is it a specific kind of wound that this will work more effectively with other than another kind of wound? So a small brace or an actual diabetic open wound that would be use case for this device.
So with this technology which I showed you, the use case scenario which we have tested and we have promising results, everything, these are for primarily these 4 kinds of wounds which I showed: diabetic foot ulcers, bed sores, venous leg ulcers, trauma, or the surgical wounds. And going forward, we are working on different features with this technology where it can be expanded to more wounds like burn wounds and the radiation induced wounds as well. This product primarily we target to put in hospitals, nursing homes, long-term care facilities and ambulatory settings. But the next product in the portfolio is a product with the simplest used and limited features which can be given for the home care settings.
Thank you.
I would like to know a little bit about your challenges. What would be your challenge? What are your actual, as an entrepreneur today, your challenges? And what would be your competitive advantages versus competitors? And again, what would be your exit strategy if possible?
So talking about the challenges, the biggest challenges being a medical startup were to complete the safety and the regulations to start with the first in human studies, which we have crossed, because when it comes to the health or the safety, you have to be very, very careful, and the medical policies, regulatory policies are very stringent. So which we have already crossed because we have tested it on humans, and that too at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, which is one of the largest and the apex institute in India for any kind of medical things. So that is one of the biggest challenge which we have already overcome. And in terms of competition, yes, there will always be a competition and there will be people doing something new every day. As told, we have already 3 patents around this technology, and this is not that once we have this one product, there is no R&D going on. There is R&D going on parallelly to add on the features, to add more, build more technologies around it and have more patents all around it, so that we are ahead of the competition. Once they reach there, we have something new to launch. We have something new to give to our customers.
Thank you very much.
That was an excellent pitch.
Thank you.
What is your pitch to the doctor? How you, because basically you're doing it through the caregiver.
So the first we target those hospitals like I mentioned with the trauma and ICUs, orthopedic and wound care facilities. They are already feeling challenges with treating these wounds. For them also, treating these wounds are challenges for like having multiple leakages from the wound, or for example giving a hyperbaric therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy to a patient in case. So they have to be a installation, multiple trained personnel, and it can be given to only one person at one given time. And suppose that person is having any kind of illness, for example TB or a neuro condition, from neuro disability, they can't put person in that kind of facility. So they are already facing challenges with the existing options they have.
All right, very nice. Thank you.
Well done.
Want maximum savings and control over your company's travel spends? Presenting Yatra for Business, an online platform for all your company's travel needs. From valuable savings through low convenience fee and corporate fares to more control with employee booking requests and admin approvals. Yatra for Business, the most cost-efficient way to book your travel.
I am Florence, founder and CEO of Meet Caregivers. So at Meet Caregivers, we are building the world's largest online marketplace for senior care. Our goal is to really utilize technologies such as AI or machine learning to make it easier for seniors to connect with all the different resources they need as they continue to age at home. Those resources are anything from caregivers, care products, and technology tools. 50 million seniors currently we have in US, but worldwide we have already about 750 million seniors. By 2025, that number will double. But what's very interesting about seniors is the fact that Many of them want to age at home. They want to stay in their place as long as possible. They don't want to be moved into nursing home nor assisted living communities, but unfortunately the family are struggling to keep them safe at home. For example, in US, the caregiver turnover is about 82%, which means that seniors are constantly having to deal with different providers being sent to their home to assist them with daily activity, and they hate that. So those are all those issues, some of why we're building Meet Caregivers. Our goal is to really create one stop for everything, where seniors and their loved one can be able to access all the different resources they need, from the best caregivers to the care product that meets their care needs, also technology tools to support them at home as long as possible. Our first product, we specifically build the care matching system by utilizing AI and machine learning to make sure that we are connecting seniors with the perfect caregivers that can be with them for a long period of time. Once the caregivers has been matched with a specific seniors, we're providing the second tools that we build, which is the tracking system, to facilitate instant tracking and communication between the caregivers, the family, so that we can make sure that the seniors are getting the right care. The care tracking system is very simple. From the family perspective, it makes it easier for families to specify what type of care the loved one needs and be able to track on a daily basis the type of care that the caregivers are providing and communicate instantly. This is great specifically for family members who don't live in the same area as the loved one. Her business model is very easy. Meet Caregiver take 30 to 60% commission on every transaction that happens through a platform. The second business model that we're looking at is a subscription model to other healthcare organizations. So this new change will enable us to work with Medicare Advantage plans and support millions of seniors, regardless of whether they can afford to pay for the care by themselves or not. And as we continue to expand worldwide, we will be looking at working with local, private insurance company, government, so that we can be able to provide better care to all the seniors and not just the richest. So we are very excited about that. Our traction to date, last year Meet Caregiver did in terms of revenue 1.3 million. We booked over 55,000 and sold over 100,000 of product to support seniors, and we continue to grow during COVID, forming partnership with long-term care insurances, government, and other healthcare organizations as well. We have an amazing team. The reason why I studied Meet Caregivers is actually based on my own background. I worked as a caregiver during a college. That's how I witnessed so many families struggle to care for their aging parents. And I figured there must be a better way to support them. We have an amazing CTO with extensive experience, and recently we added Zenobia Muchela, who's one of the co-founders of Care.com. If you're familiar with Care.com, it's one of the largest care marketplaces in the world. So we are looking forward to continue bringing more talent so that we can grow Meet Caregiver and scale it worldwide and support millions of seniors. We are currently looking to raise 1.5 million. We have already 1 million committed and looking to close the remaining as soon as possible. The goal of the 1.5 million is to enable us to continue to strengthen our technology, automate our system, but also start scaling not only in United States, but start expanding worldwide as well. So we are currently looking for investors to join us. We guarantee that you will have a great return on your investment because this is such a growing need. But also we want investors who care about making a great impact and supporting millions of seniors to continue to age at home as long as possible. Thank you.
My question is that the interesting aspect or the clutter breaker for me in this thought process is the fact that almost like a companion match that we have in India, which is very specific to the Indian market for arranged marriages, where they check the compatibility. You are actually looking at a personality compatibility between the provider and the patient.
Yes.
Interesting. Now, do you do that on the basis of an algorithm, I'm assuming?
Yes, so we are using an algorithm that really matches the personality of the seniors, but also with the caregivers to make sure that they will be able to get along for a long period of time. because that's actually one of the reasons why there's such a high level of turnover of caregivers in United States, because many of the caregivers are sent to work with seniors that they don't get along with, or some of the seniors, for example, due to the Alzheimer or dementia, can be aggressive, and
Right.
not all caregivers have the experience or the personality to deal with that. So we're really utilizing our algorithm technology to make sure that we're doing the matching, looking at all these other criteria such as care needs and others, but also personality.
And the algorithm is proprietary? Completely.
Yes, it is. It is. That's owned by us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How big of a sample group would you have taken in the initial phase to create a more sustainable algorithm that could actually meet your requirement in getting the right person or matching the right person with the right caregiver?
Yes. When we first started, we built the algorithm. We did it based on our own experience working as caregivers and healthcare experts. And of course, as we have continued to brought on board different seniors, as I mentioned, we already match over 1,000 plus seniors through a marketplace. We're continuously adjusting what's working, what's not working, to make sure that we can be able to support more seniors, and that we continue to strengthen our technology and making sure that it's working.
And with a lot of the seniors have so many different kinds of requirements, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these requirements today, as complex or as simple, have been taken note of onto your platform, so that you're able to provide this not only the caregiver, but also if the caregiver requires additional support for the senior. Basically, all of these requirements have been put together to make sure that the caregiver is not only the caregiver himself, but he comes with the full set of requirement to be able to do his job properly.
Yes. When we pre-screen our caregivers, we really take time to understand their background, their skills, their experience, their personality, what they can do and what they cannot do, so that we can match them best to seniors that they can be able to provide care to. And sometimes emergency happen if a caregiver was matched and cannot do a great care. They are able to reach out to Meet caregivers, and we will adjust the matching as well. So we are available to provide additional support if needed to the family or to the caregivers.
What is built in your financial model to keep tackling the variations in minimum wage and things like that? And then as you go on, and you need to offer more advanced care at home. Is that your plan, to offer more advanced care or whatever is reasonable at home?
Right now, we're mostly focusing really on non-medical in-home care as a primary care that we're providing, but we're certainly open to looking at doing more than that. But in addition to that, we also have the product that people can buy through our platform.
How do you select the caregivers, and how do you guarantee the families about the caregiver, about their commitment, their honesty, or their commitment mostly? And you talked about 1,000 families registered, but how many caregivers do you have on the platform? I can understand it's a marketplace as
Yes.
well, which you're intending to go from east to west with different regulations, as we just saw. What about Europe? Do you have any other ambitions about that, or is it too early to think about it?
No, we're definitively looking to expand the marketplace, not just in US, but worldwide as well. Currently, we have 5,000 plus caregivers through our platform. And in terms of screening caregivers go through extensive screening process. We're continuously working on automating that screening process. So they have, for example, they fill out an application, then they have to go through background check, reference check, certification check, personality check and really make sure that they have the right personality. But we also want to understand what the caregivers are looking for. What are the schedule they're looking for? What type of seniors or patients they're looking to work with, and what type of salary per hour they also want to make on a weekly basis or monthly basis, because the goal is to make sure that the matching doesn't just work for seniors and their family, but it also needs to work for the caregivers in order for it to work out well long term. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Dr. Angela Fusaro, emergency medicine physician, frontline healthcare worker, and the co-founder and CEO of Physician 360. Now, I don't have a slide describing the problem that we're solving. The only thing I need to do that is to ask you to think back to the last time you, or perhaps one of your children, had a simple medical symptom, like a sore throat. How much time did you waste making that medical appointment and going to the doctor's office? How much money did you spend? And perhaps most importantly, were you exposed to someone else's potentially deadly germs when you sought care? At Physician 360, we have completely reimagined the practice of urgent care. So similar to the simplicity of the home pregnancy test, we envisioned a world where you could walk into a community pharmacy, pick up a test kit, interact with a doctor on your smartphone, and walk out of that same pharmacy with a treatment prescription in less than 30 minutes in under $50. And now you can. Physician 360 is a virtual health clinic. We transform neighborhood pharmacies into urgent care clinics by empowering them with access to on-demand telemedicine consultations and rapid tests for simple medical illnesses like strep throat, flu, urinary tract infection, COVID-19, and more. We're the only company partnering with independent pharmacies to offer care in their stores. And that's really important for a variety of reasons. The first is that in the United States, there is an independent pharmacy within a few miles of over 90% of Americans. So when we talk about increasing access to care, especially in rural communities, we're able to effectively put a doctor in every patient's backyard by leveraging the pharmacy's footprint. The other reason this is important is because we get in front of the patient at the point where they need our services most. So think back to that sore throat example. You might pop into a pharmacy because you need a throat spray or a lozenge. And if that pharmacy is a partner of ours, then you would see point of sale advertising that says, get tested for strep here, ask me how. So by partnering with these pharmacies, we get in front of the patient when they need our symptoms, when they need our services most, which increases our conversion rate and decreases our cost of acquisition. As a side note, almost all of these pharmacies offer free delivery all the time. It's part of their culture. That means that we can offer our Physician 360 patients an Amazon Prime-esque experience without creating any new infrastructure. So imagine being in the comfort and safety of your home and having a test kit arrive at your front door, and then a few hours later have an antibiotic arrive at your door as well. So just a few moments on the independent pharmacy market. This is not a niche market. In the United States, there are actually over 20,000 independent pharmacies, and they're increasing in quantity over the last decade, year over year, as opposed to retail pharmacies, which are decreasing. They represent just under 40% of the prescription volume, and they are constantly looking for innovative ways to expand their service offering and scope of practice. Now, hopefully the value we're delivering to the patient is very obvious. I don't know anyone who's like, no, I'd actually rather wait for days to go see my doctor and have someone sneeze on me in the waiting room and pay hundreds of dollars out of pocket. But since we are a B2B2C model, we sell our products and services to the pharmacy, they resell them to the patient. It's important to highlight the value we deliver to the pharmacy. And I'm gonna do that by taking you through a patient journey. So this is Jenny, and Jenny's not having a great day. She woke up this morning and thinks she might have a urinary tract infection. And like many of us, she goes to the all-knowing internet and she searches for something like UTI symptoms. When she does that, we serve her an ad. That ad will geolocate her to the closest Physician 360 pharmacy. And we drive Jenny to that pharmacy to purchase her test kit. When she gets there, she not only buys the test kit, but she also purchases the treatment prescription and any other over-the-counter medications that the doctor recommends. So by tying in the clinical aspect, by having the doctor visit, we increase the number of opportunities this pharmacy has to generate revenue, in addition to driving this traffic, this new traffic, to their pharmacy. We're doing that at a fraction of the cost they would have incurred to build a brick and mortar clinic. So retail pharmacies, this is the approach they've traditionally taken, and we are giving these independent pharmacies who have less resources a way to offer the same clinical services at a fraction of the expense. Now, the value that we're delivering to the pharmacy should be obvious by our growth and traction, which has been consistent since inception. We've had approximately 300% year-over-year growth, and we now have grown our pharmacy network to just over 1,000 locations. And that does not include the hundreds of locations represented by our partnerships with large grocery chain pharmacies, and we recently signed an employer contract with WeWork. Perhaps most compelling about our growth is that quarter over quarter, an increasing amount of our revenue is coming from existing customers. So while we're increasing the number of pharmacies, we're also increasing a loyal customer base. We have a clear pathway to growth and profitability. Our growth is driven by two drivers. The first is the number of pharmacies in the network, and the second is the pharmacy sell-through, or the per pharmacy location basket size. We anticipate those to continue to grow at approximately 40% and 100% respectively. We will achieve profitability in 2022, and in 2024, our pharmacy network will be at the right size and sell-through rate for a successful exit. Where target acquirers include healthcare insurance payers, large wholesale pharmaceutical distributors, and other telemedicine companies who are looking for a strategic partner in this space. Now, just to give you a sense of the potential of this market, in the United States alone, there are over 130 million urgent care visits annually. The percent of those that Physician 360 can service in this moment without any further product expansion is about 50%, leading to a serviceable, addressable market of over $3 billion. Now, globally, there are over 1.5 million pharmacies. So imagine the impact of being able to upgrade each and every one of those into a functional urgent care clinic. Our team has the right combination of skills to continue and accelerate growth. Not only are we experts in clinical care delivery and healthcare operations, but we also have expertise in technology and direct-to-consumer healthcare product marketing. We've shown that we can get in front of the patient at the point where they need our services most, succinctly communicate the value proposition to lead to conversion, and when they convert, we deliver an excellent tech-enabled care experience. The opportunity in front of you today is that we are raising a $1 million bridge round. That capital will be used to push on those two growth drivers, increasing the number of pharmacies in our network and increasing the per pharmacy location sell-through by direct-to-consumer marketing and product expansion. So this past year, for example, we rolled out several new test kits, most of which were focused on COVID-19. However, we did also roll out one for ear infection, which is a reusable digital otoscope with a telemedicine consult, so you never have to drag your screaming children to the pediatrician again. There has never been a time when access to affordable, convenient, accurate, and safe healthcare has been more relevant. I encourage you to join us in our mission to change the face of healthcare. Thank you.
Just to change the order.
Keeping us on our toes.
So I've got three questions in fact. One is, as this is a very interesting field that you've highlighted in, and I'm sure as we get into more technology developments across the world, I think there will be more and more opportunities in the same field. But at the current state, there are two questions that are raised, and they were raised very predominantly within COVID-19 in the past. One is the accuracy of this test. And how accurate is the information that is being derived from these tests, and how would this test results be conveyed on your app or on your platform to a real physician, if I may, if I'm correct, where he will be able to decide basically on the next step going forward. Number two, I think the risks that go with a false diagnosis of certain, certain, I don't know, what do you call them, certain illnesses. And how would you be able to tackle that? Is there a proof or a bulletproof kind of system that would give you different levels of assessment before you will be able to issue a diagnosis to the medical person.
So the first question about the accuracy of the test, it varies by test. So rather than get into the technicalities of the sensitivity and specificity of each, I think what's important to note is that we only use FDA cleared medical devices. We're using those devices in combination with a medical consult. So this is a clinical grade experience just like you would get if you went in person to a medical visit. Meaning that in a medical office, there's false positives and false negatives of those tests as well. That's why we use clinical experts who are trained to understand the probability of what that could mean. So they're taking the result of that test as one piece of information, but combining it with all the other clinical information they get through the history, physical evaluation, and making a determination. So we don't rely just on the test for the reasons that you just expressed.
And is there an AI kind of integration within your platform that is?
So we're building it now. So the data that we're collecting now we do have an intake algorithm that is a little bit more manual, but yes, it is based on their symptoms. We use that to now power an AI engine that will later be able to do more predictive analytics.
And if on the first question, I think there was a question on the linkability of the test results basically back to your platform. Is that automatic, or would that require that the individual inputs that manually on
there's two versions. So one is manual. For some of the tests, it's manual. They'll upload like the equivalent of a photo, but it becomes part of their permanent medical record. In some of the other tests, like with COVID-19, we had to adjust, and so some of that is automatic.
What is your compensation model for the physician?
So we have built a proprietary network of physicians who are contracted to cover patient consults. Okay. So we do pay them on a transactional basis. We are actually modifying that approach just with what we've seen work in the community. Now that we have over 1,000 pharmacies, we're, if you will, reverse engineering, and we're going back to those communities and saying, hey, we have a pharmacy in your zip code. You're a primary doctor in this zip code. Would you like to be on our network? So that after you service this patient in a transactional way, they can actually become part of your medical home. Okay. And so, but yes, we don't employ them, but we do contract
And then
them.
For your test kits, what is the model you use? So if you told me to use a certain test kit, like whatever, do you then drive the brand I use and so on and so forth, or do you just tell me go do a test for this? Go to your local pharmacy and do a test for this. What's the nature of your tie-up with the pharmacy?
So we are essentially providing them all the tools they need to function as an urgent care clinic, which means we're giving them the software, we're giving them access to the clinical network, the doctors, and from the hardware perspective, we're essentially selecting certain, we know, high use and high impact test kits, and then stocking them there. So. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Okay. And then, so do you have an arrangement with the manufacturers of the test kits? Because I assume you're not actually
we're not manufacturing.
Right, you're like the interface there.
Yes, so we only work with that, exactly.
Right, and then, so you have a deal, or do these retailers have a deal? Like how do the purchasing of, because that's a significant part of your cost. So I'm interested to know.
So we work with the manufacturers, and then ideally.
So that's your end of that. What I wanted to understand from your answer is that's your end of the deal.
Yeah, we're interacting directly with the manufacturers, not the
And
pharmacy.
then what does the pharmacy? So you have a deal with the pharmacy and you have a deal with the manufacturer, and what if the pharmacy steps in and says, well, we wanna connect directly with the manufacturer and buy at this, because retail is like a game of, as you can, I think you've studied this so you would know, is a game of like small amounts and margins and so on and so forth. Where is your margin coming from, and how are you preventing the retailer from cutting in or the manufacturer from cutting in into your margin? So that's my question to you.
I understand. It doesn't happen often, but the pharmacies in theory have the ability to buy some of these tests if they wanted on their own. The part they don't have access to, which is actually the bigger value add, is the clinical piece. Okay. And so they understand that if they want that clinical tie-in, then they have to purchase through us. That's the differentiator. Because if they buy, for example, a flu test directly from the manufacturer, and they swab a flu patient at the pharmacy, and that person needs Tamiflu or some other, prescriptive medication, they're stuck.
Okay.
So it's really by partnering with us that they give the patient a fully comprehensive experience, and that's why they purchase through us.
I want to know more about what your cost of customer acquisition looks like right now, and do you see it coming down as you grow scale?
Sure. As far as pharmacy cost of acquisition, we're at about $350.
Okay.
So, and we do see it coming down, given what I had just previously said. I found rather than rely on Google Ads and LinkedIn and sort of these,
Yes.
we'll go organizational level.
I would like to know more about the end customer.
That cost of acquisition right now is about $55. And so again, that is related to us putting, ads into the market, like you saw with the Jenny example, to drive patients who live in the communities around these pharmacies to the pharmacy. Now, since our test kits are about $50 retail, we're close-ish to a break even there as far as the initial cost of acquisition. But as I mentioned, once we acquire that patient the first time, the cost required to get them to use the service again is only about $8.
Interesting. And the onboarding cost is included in the 55?
The onboarding.
As in getting the data of the patient, knowing
Yes.
your patient, establishing them in your network, all of that is included in the 55?
Yes.
So what do you projected your ARPUs to be like? What's your average revenue per user generally?
So we're still relatively new, and since we
understand.
focus on urgent care conditions, we don't have as much of a recurrent customer data point, if you will, as we have a family co-using data point, meaning that we'll get, say, mom who uses it once for a UTI, and then we have a certain percentage of patients that then her daughter uses it for
Sure.
say, strep throat.
So what would you define that value? Is it $100 a year from one family, or is it $200 a year? What's the ARPU like?
I would say right now per year per customer, probably yes, close to $90. So we have considered going to, and this is kind of getting into the weeds, but to a subscription model. So to your point, we sell them once, then we
Right.
upsell them on a monthly subscription.
Right.
So that is coming down the pipeline,
That would be
which would lead
interesting.
to a higher lifetime value.
For sure,
Yes.
yes. Thank you.
सो ये थे हमारे आज के अमेजिंग कंटेस्टेंट्स और उनके आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स इनोवेटिव स्टार्टअप आइडियाज. Many more to come. Stay tuned with us. Keep dreaming, keep chasing.